Hello everyone and welcome back. We return with Saberhagen and continuing our story about herself and our first encounter. So sit back and relax and enjoy 35mm. Okay, where did we left off?
We were talking about yours truly and what I can do.
Alright, okay, here's one. Do you have a disguise when you feel you want to walk among the public? Besides the Catwoman look, to let loose around the town.
Yes, I do. I have many forms, but this is the one I choose to take. This is what I take when I deal with other humans.
Huh. Now you remind me of Anna Nicole. The early non-Illuminati brainwash version. And this begs the question now, and forgive me if this gets too personal, but do you have any romantic relationships when you're like this?
No, I haven't thought about it in a long time.
Really now?
Hugh, be real. It'll make things more complicated than they need to be. Even more complicated for Phil with random guys coming in and out of the apartment. And then there's the hassle of keeping a secret from the guy. And then just making sure he's safe from danger, too. It's unnecessary. I just want to make both our lives easy.
Right, on to another subject then. Let's talk about heroism here. Anything you recall?
Well, there was the time I saved Phil from a horde of marauding ghost warriors during a vacation in Mexico, in which turn needed to save the town that was in the path of their wrath.
Mine ghost? What pissed him off?
You should know. The obvious. Revenge. Plain and simple. A bunch of angry spirits about to indiscriminately kill everyone in their path. I just couldn't let it happen. Sure, I could save Phil, get him to safety, and leave the people to their fate. But I just couldn't.
Did you get a chance to fight some old, dusty mine gods?
No, not really. They kept chanting battle cries and stuff like that. There was this one guy that seemed to be a warrior that stood out from the rest. Man, what a sword. It was one of those clubs with metal blades.
I know exactly what you mean. In fact, I know some sword makers that can make a very sturdy replica. I have a mini one besides my bed for the burglars. If you're interested...
Tempting. I'll think about it.
So, how did the fight end?
I'm sitting right in front of you, aren't I? To put it short and sweet, we exchanged some hard hits. He got me good at the ribcage, but I found his weakness. Once I broke his sword, the warrior merely disappeared with his army. They'll have to get revenge another time.
I'm just loving the stuff you're telling me. There could be many columns about your adventures. Speaking of which, perhaps we should get to the nitty-gritty here. I think we should talk about how we first encountered each other. It was 5 years ago. It was on a journalism mission from my contacts from Colombia about a sort of, mind projection project. The Red Elite was creating a sort of device that has the power to take your fantasy into the land of the living. It was a winter, and by God, it was near freezing. The coming of the blizzard was drawing close, but I felt it was small compared to what I was about to face. My plane had to make it to another airport because Kennedy was closed down because of the storm. At least I had my favorite trench coat to make the experience more pleasing. Well, after that trip, there comes a moment where it just becomes blank, and I don't exactly know why.
Oh, you have no clue.
Excuse me?
No, keep going.
So, at that time, returning all the way from Colombia to a bloody icebox, you can imagine I was in no mood for this story. Well, it was Wall Street, the core of this beautiful country's most greedy and loathsome tycoons that play with our money. I felt like I got VD just turning the street corner. I was tired, but I needed to get some more info on the subjects being experimented on. All I knew was that the Red Elite was disguised as a publishing company. Shouldn't be too hard to find, or so I thought. Mind if you take it from here?
Don't mind if I do. The both of us were going through a struggle. His local publisher that helped Phil out went bust. In fact, there was something strange about it being all of a sudden like that. No messages, no phone call. Just like that.
Let me guess. He tried other companies, but they kept sending rejection letters.
That's right. Nobody was giving him a break. I know Phil is not a big-name writer, but he has at least 10 novels under his belt. I would expect someone to consider that. There was one company that kept persisting to send him manuscripts. Flor Roja Publishing. Of course, Phil was excited. Going on 2 weeks of chili cans and a shrinking bank account, Phil called it a miracle.
Something tells me otherwise.
Well, from the start, all of this felt odd. He found the website, but when he tried to call or send emails, no response. Yet they had sent a representative to our own apartment. Phil had never disclosed that in anything he sent. Only a number to call his cell.
So you punched him out of the house?
I wish I did. Phil may be smart when he's writing books, but he doesn't have a clue. I listened closely to their little powwow. The company wanted to welcome the new artists and writers they recruit for their company. The goal was to have an in-house creative for books, comics, and whatever could be made. So the meeting was sort of like a...
orientation.
Exactly. I was picking something up from the guy. He didn't have a scent. My nose is very keen on those kind of things. The only things that I've encountered that don't have a scent would be machines or something alien.
So, you're a part dog then?
Quiet, Hugh. So I expressed my feelings after he left. Phil understood, but the piling bills on the table made up his decision. So I asked him if I could go with him.
Makes sense. You can change into anything.
He said no.
Wait, why?
He said that it wasn't necessary. He claimed he would be fine and nothing bad would happen. A short trip for a day, here and back. No reason to be suspicious.
Hello? There are so many red flags, you would think it would be the Communist Party.
I know. That didn't stop me, though.
I hazard a guess you disguised yourself as a stewardess, followed him, and somehow maneuvered away to get a room right next to him.
Sort of. More like followed. Hid in the cargo hold of the plane, followed him to the hotel, lost him at the airport, found him again, had to jump in the cab he was riding in, and stalk him to his hotel in the snow.
Did it occur to you that you could just change into a hotel worker and just, I don't know, observe from the inside?
I did that later on.
You know, come to think of it, I remember a strange orientation when later on, but I suppose we were staying in the same hotel room.
Yeah, I remember.
You do? I would have remembered.
And not in this appearance, though. You looked out of your mind when you took me in your room.
I did what? Oh. It must have been the morphine. After that nasty fall,
Morphine?
Allow me to explain. At the time, the blogger had arranged for me a room to stay. It was more like a cot in the broom closet. The freaking radiator of the hovel wasn't even working, and despite the size, I had that room plastered with pins and papers of maps of New York. If I knew anything about the rich and powerful, they always have the most gaudy buildings, like a castle in the middle of the concrete jungle, and burning the midnight oil and being fueled by coffee. I did find that castle.
So I bet you sneaked inside there. What did you have to do to get in?
Sneaked inside? Oh no, my dear. The place was a fortress. The windows sealed shut, black shadows walking back and forth, surveillance cameras so sensitive they were watching the snowflakes fall. I started to notice a pattern, though. Every 10 minutes or so, a very large man would seem to be emptying some trash. In reality, it was merely an empty bucket. I mean, what kind of janitor, mind you, has 20-inch biceps? Screw that!
Wow.
With limited options, I did what any journalist could do. I walked straight up to that front door. The moment I stepped on that sidewalk, every eye was on me. Immediately, the janitor met me. He asked if there was something I needed. I joked with him and said I was a Jehovah's Witness here on a mission. He didn't like the humor, but so I told him to give me a minute. I was just late for work. It was then I saw some intern pass by, and I saw his pass on his hip. I snagged it off without the poor Ryou noticing, and the card had nothing but a QR code. I flashed it to the janitor, and he let me pass through the door. I rushed to the nearest elevator to avoid being spotted, so I pressed for the 10th floor. When I get there, the place was a freaking office space madhouse. Heads poked out like gophers, rows upon rows were mindless drones on their computers. It was by the grace of Howard S. Thompson I found an empty desk. Joelle had given me a USB with a virus that extracts files depending what I type in. I inserted it and typed in the words Project Incantato.
Huh? Then what happened?
I waited, but ended up with nothing. I typed the same thing again and put something with the words publishing company. 2 words came out. Flor Roja. Funny, it was then the virus was killed by the security programs. The screen repeated with the same message, Hello, Hugh. And before I knew it, guardsmen flooded the entire area. I was cornered with my back against the windows, and all of them raised their pistols and fired. The force of the bullets pushed me out against the glass, falling to my doom. I was in deep, deep pain, but I lit my way back to find a cab to return to the hotel.
So that's what you meant by morphine.
Precisely.
So how did you manage to get back to the hotel?
In a moment. I'm more curious as to what you were doing during all this hoopla of mine.
Oh, well, I did what you mentioned earlier. I noticed what the maids looked like from the outside and took on the appearance. The cold had numbed me so much, I couldn't move straight. I broke the door when I tried to open it. I hope they don't mind me doing that. Well, the moment I entered the hotel, I felt a presence. That cold and evil feeling. It became stronger in the hallway where Phil was staying. What I see next was this hulking janitor.
I see where this is going.
I mean, come on. The guy had 20-inch biceps and skin so tight you could tell it was fake. Who was he trying to fool?
Could have been Sasquatch, you know. I mean, poor guy. He sent me an email that he needed a job.
Hugh, please.
Just saying.
The guy somehow had the keys to enter Phil's room. I came in so fast the freak never knew what hit him. All the while, Phil is unaware what was going on outside his door. That one punch ripped off that fake skin. The guy looked like this, Komodo dragon man. I wasn't without my injuries, but in the end, let's just say I used my one good arm to hold him by his ankle and demanded to know what they wanted with him. The janitor turned out to be one of these heavily loyal types. You know, the ones who are willing to die to keep their secrets. In my frustration, I threw him back. But not without a warning. I won't be merciful, and I had killed before. I'm not just some ordinary house cat.
Very good. I love that.
So, what happened to you when you were in the cab?
Yeah, well, this is where my memory starts to fail me. I do remember freaking the driver out when my limbs started to attach to my body again. I remember getting out of the car. I remember going back to the hotel and seeing pink elephants mocking me from afar.
Pink elephants, yeah, sure.
I know those damn bastards exist. But anyway, I can't remember what happened next.
Allow me to fill in the gap for you. So my plan was to follow the guy through his scent.
I thought you couldn't smell these kinds of people.
His shirt said otherwise. So when I reached the elevator, it began to move downward. It was going down so quickly I didn't know how to disguise myself, so I panicked and changed into a cat. And that's when you came in. So you took me back to your hotel room, and of all the floors in the hotel, you had the same hallway as I did.
That could explain, Mr. Janigator there. The guy must have got the rooms mixed up. Wait, how come you didn't just transform and punch my lights out and be done with me?
Actually, I was about to do that, but then you ordered room service. You kept yelling on about, "I need something American, bloody soy meat made out of embalming fluids," to the guy on the phone. The banter was amusing, and then you threw your shirt and coat to the garbage chute and clogging it to prevent any visitors from attacking.
That explains why my trench coat got missing after that trip.
I'm not done. Then you took the bed sheets and drew a flag with a marker, used it as a cape, and started to sing this song.
What song?
I think it was something about a Madame Blue.
Sweet Madame Blue, gaze at your looking glass. You're not a child anymore. Da 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 da, sweet Madame Blue, the future is all but past. I'm sorry. I can't help but pass my favorite Styx song. Please continue. Continue.
Before the room service even came, you passed out, leaving me with some delicious New York steak. Man, that food held me up after that. Never got a chance to say thanks. So, thanks.
Curse that morphine. That explains why the hotel tab was so high.
Well, I remember that, and honestly I needed the tension breaker. I needed the time off to think of what better plan I could come up with. If things did get too hairy, it was about time to get Phil and get the hell out of there. Even if I do have to do it in a trail of scaly bodies. What were you doing in a hotel nearly swarming with lizard men?
Turned out after all said and done, my informant squealed on me where I was booked. Traitor! But don't worry though. I took care of him.
You did? How?
You see this picture? What do you see?
Well, I can see something that appears to be blood, but I can barely make heads or tails of it.
That's because he was trying to run from her. They always try to run. Hence why the photo's blurry. The blood is actually ketchup that spilled on his shirt. He was eating french fries from McDonald's at the time. Hey, being the guy that ruins a good lunch, right?
And they say I'm brutal.
Only when I'm screwed with. Otherwise. Anyways, it's been an hour until the drugs began to wear off, and something was slipped under my door when I woke up. A small announcement of a seminar being held downstairs. A seminar held by publishers. Couldn't have been that easy, right? Speaking of hiding, where did you run off?
Oh, back to Phil for a few minutes until I realized he was gone. I ran to the door only to see him in the elevator going down. I took the stairwell hoping he would stop on any one of the floors, but ended up in the main lobby. I just wanted to keep an eye on him. I saw him turn into a hotel conference room, and I knew I had to get in close. I got to admit I didn't like what I had to do to get in.
Dang, we're out of time.
Just when I was getting to the good part.
I know, right? Alas, those blasted time constraints. Oh well, pick it up right after the pause button. For you, Internet Land, we hope you come back to my interview with Saberhagen and to see what thrilling excitement happens next. Ta-ta! Hi, this is Jon Geist, the show's creator. This project has been co-written with Xenny Diemes. The character Saberhagen is also copyrighted to Xenny Diemes respectively. The voice actress for Saberhagen was provided by the very talented Erin McDonald. Sound effects were provided by the freesound.org organization. And the intro to the Bizarre Blogger was done by the beautiful Yui Hisaihi. The artwork for this title card was done by Ryou Sakai. One last credit goes to you, the listener, for tuning in to this episode of Bizarre Blogger. Take care and have a very pleasant night.